Everyone has a story about group rides, and how it all turned out runs the gamut.
Who's leading this menagerie? You're gonna lead? No, I had the responsibility coming out. Too much responsibility.
Riders like to tell each other what happened on past rides. Who cares if it's a tall tale or absolute truth? You hear war stories about what went wrong, how bad it got in funny and not so funny ways, or they delight in sharing how a group ride on a favorite road should be on everyone's bucket list. Riding in groups can be good or bad, just like everything else. There's lots of ways to do group rides. That's a benefit, and it's also a tricky complication. You can ride with family members or friends, or join a club and ride with whoever. You don't expect the same experience on these different rides. Much of it comes down to the temperaments and personalities of the riders. An unspoken rule of group riding should be obvious. Don't try to join or tag along with a motorcycle group if you see them out riding. In general, group rides are by invitation only. Doesn't matter how many jokes were told at the gas pumps. That other group didn't plan on you being with them. Doesn't matter if you have the coolest mini bike and all the pacing. Swap contact information if you like, but wave and let them be on their way. All kinds of motorcyclists have all kinds of bikes they like to ride. Put a mixture of personalities and skill levels on those different bikes, and you're in for interesting times. Getting that mixture together on a road going fast in traffic headed somewhere is an accomplishment, whether for good or bad. How a group ride turns out can be the luck of the draw, a calculated strategy, result of preparation, or a free-for-all for the fun of it. According to the MSF training program on group rides, these are the things you need to know. Arrive prepared on time with a full tank of gas. Hold a riders meeting beforehand. Keep group size manageable, usually 5 to 7 riders. Break larger groups into subgroups separated by a few seconds. Designate a lead and sweep rider for each section. Ride prepared. Cell phone, change of weather gear, water, first aid, toolkits. Ride in staggered formation 1 or 2 seconds behind each other depending on conditions. Avoid side-by-side formations. Periodically check status in rearview mirrors of riders who follow. If separated from the group, follow a pre-planned procedure to regroup. Don't break the law or ride beyond skill level to catch up. For mechanical or medical problems, use a cell phone to call for assistance as situations warrant. If a rider leaves during the ride, reform the rest of the group in staggered formation by crisscrossing into the next vacant position. Know the group's riding signals. The MSF plan for group rides is basic, straightforward, sounds easy enough. The common sense in their suggestions is what one would expect riders to come up with on their own, without needing a training course. Most of these steps became codified as a result of experience gathered from group rides over the years. Some would say these are conclusions any rider would come to once they did a few group rides and saw what worked and what didn't. But even if this is true, the problem is, other dynamics and unintended consequences come into play. These basic instructions leave out a lot of real-world complexity. The strange attractor in all of this confusion is the rider. Riders all have differing expectations, skill levels, personalities, riding styles, favorites, and grudges. Despite any rules, whether a group ride is a good idea or not usually rests upon the makeup of the people involved. The complications that result range from minor to severe. In one group ride, a rider showed up concerned about heading out in the cold weather. He was from a place that often had triple-digit temps. Others in the group thought it was a perfect day for a ride, and the weather was fine. In another group, a rider kept weaving back and forth in the lane and sticking one leg out than the other. The rider behind him got annoyed and thought it wasn't safe. But when asked about it, the weaver explained he had old leg injuries and needed to move like that to avoid crippling cramps. Some riders are used to filtering between traffic while others never do that. It's hard to keep a group together with such a mix. Some bikes have a fuel range 100 miles longer than other bikes. Some riders can't run the twisties as fast as sport bike riders. So what should the group do? Everybody stops for gas whether or not they need it based upon the smallest tank size in the group. Everybody checks their mirrors and slows down to a pace that matches the slowest rider. Now you have a group with the slow riders setting the pace. But if you don't slow down, they're left in the dust. And what kind of rider do you put in the sweep position? According to the MSF, both leader and sweeper should be experienced riders. But that means the experienced sweep rider will be stuck behind slower riders. And usually an experienced rider is not the slowest rider. But as the sweeper, they'll be stuck behind the slowest. But if the slower rider is put in the sweep position, they'll quickly fall behind and disconnect from the group. One group set out to complete 16 fabled roads in California and did 9 of them before one rider decided to drop out. He realized the 10th road was much too dangerous. Asked why he thought so, he said, "Well, that whole road is nothing but radical twists and turns." The other riders were amazed. That's exactly what they live for. And then there's passing as a group. When should the leader choose to pass? When there's enough road for the leader to pass, or enough for the group? There may never be enough time for the whole group to pass together in many traffic conditions. But passing multiple cars, one rider at a time, can break up the group, as some get stranded behind slow vehicles, while those who have already passed can zoom ahead. Should riders slow down after they pass and wait until all riders have passed? Or is it okay to zoom ahead and let everyone catch up? When passing, some leaders know to stay in the oncoming lane as long as it is safe, as a signal to the following riders that the coast is still clear. Other leaders pass by swooping out and back in as fast as possible, letting the following riders fend for themselves. Some riders want to stop at scenic turnouts and historical places. Other riders only want to see how many miles they can do in one day. If they could, they never stop. Even the necessary fill and drain stops are not so simple. Some want to be in and out like a MotoGP pit stop. Others want to browse in the mini-mart for snacks and soda. Some riders have GPS units and comm sets to talk to one another. Other riders may not have these. This creates a disconnect between how much the comm sets can be leveraged to change plans while on the road, and which riders don't know about the change of plans that just happened at 70 miles an hour. Some overnight group rides require reservations at motels, and riders better confirm their spots or risk showing up with nowhere to stay. If that happens, they either double up or sleep by their bike in the parking lot. Some riders want to double up in rooms to save money. Others want a room of their own. Insisting on a room alone might foster resentment with a double-up rider who's forced into a more expensive single room. A seemingly simple mechanical glitch like a fob-controlled gas cap refusing to close and lock can mushroom into major concerns as unaffected riders have to decide whether to stay with the stranded rider and wait for hours for repair transport, or just wave goodbye with a hearty good luck. Some groups self-segregate into subgroups after a day or two as personality conflicts require people to keep their distance. Some riders would rather stop and wait for the thunderstorm to blow through, while other riders are determined to keep rolling through rain, hail, and snow. Some riders need to stop and change into their weather gear at the first sign of clouds. Other riders believe the storm will pass before they get there and resent having to stop at all. These stories can go on forever, and I know you got your own stories that go well beyond what I'm reporting here. Feel free to share them in the comments. That would be entertaining. The bottom line is, group riding is simple in theory, difficult in practice, but not impossible. In fact, given the right circumstances and a congenial group of riders who match up pretty well in temperament and skill level, a group ride can be a wonderful thing. It's great to zoom along in formation at high speed, matching lean angles, and playing with line selections. It's satisfying to stop for a meal and enjoy some fun conversation with like-minded people. And there's also the feeling of shared safety, knowing group members have each other's backs. But these are elements that aren't inevitable. They can happen, sometimes they do. Often they're only partially realized. But despite the problems and the effort involved and the need for patience, the rewards of group riding keep riders coming back for more. together. In the meantime, while you're thinking about going on a group ride, you can always take a ride solo. Now that's a whole different set of challenges, and you already know them well.